What does it mean to be human? Does it simply mean being born, breathing, eating, sleeping, going to the bathroom, making a living, starting a family? What is really the essence of our humanity? There's been a lot of debate about this, about what it is that truly makes us human. But I think one of the main facets of being human is our connection to the broader collective, to something and someone greater than just ourselves. It's no mystery that we are just one out of approximately 8 billion people in the world today. Every single one of us has a purpose, has a journey, has a story. And no matter how much you might think or believe otherwise, we all share the same path. If not on the surface, if not by, the various beliefs and faiths and walks of life that we may travel, then at least at the most fundamental aspect of our identity. We all came from the same source, and we all will return back to that same source. You can almost say we are the different rays to the sun, the different drops to the ocean. But no matter how you characterize it, it's important to not only recognize your humanity, but to also uphold it, to cherish it, to honor it, to recognize and live by the fact that you are not alone on this journey. And that just like someone may help you along the path, it is also important that you help others along the path, especially in times of deep personal and societal crisis. Now, when we talk about the word crisis or chaos, it's probably another term that comes to mind. Sometimes our mind may race to sort of the immediate thing that captures the news headlines and that has affected all of us, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. Sometimes crisis or chaos applies at the individual level, of course, right? We can lose our jobs, we can be going through a difficult divorce, we could be experiencing some sort of a medical condition or some other type of setback that has really led us to a state of rock bottom. But then there's the other types of chaos and crises that we don't necessarily see all the time, but it's actually there. If you open up, Google right now and you type in humanitarian crises in the world, I can almost guarantee you're going to find dozens, if not hundreds of different crises affecting people from all across the globe. Some of which perhaps you were not even aware of, right? I know certainly for me, there's a lot of things that unfortunately I'm just not aware of. I recognize that we sometimes can be in this bubble. We can be so self-absorbed. We can believe that we are at the center of the universe, when in reality, if you take a step back, if you're an astronaut in space, for example, and you're looking down on Earth, we're not even a speck or a dot in their frame. And that's why it's so important sometimes to, just like the astronaut maybe, to take that step back, to just take that external view, right? Get out of our own shell, get out of our own bubble, and see really what others are going through. Because not only will seeing and experiencing and being a part of their struggle, not only will that help you, but more importantly, it will help them. And in turn, that assistance, that aid, that love, that support, that sympathy will help all of us. Right? You know, if you've been following this channel for some time, if you've been watching some of the other videos, you know that I talk a lot about spirituality being, you know, an independent walk of life. But you also hear me talk quite extensively about spirituality being about togetherness, about unity, about embracing the collective whole, the collective group. And that's why it's no surprise that we are all here on this earth right now, living out our different lives, but in many ways, those lives are interrelated and they depend on one another and they can impact one another. And so it's not like we just make a decision or we make a choice and, you know, that it's going to affect our lives only. It reverberates out, starting with our immediate society and then, you know, extending out into the broader society. But the reason I wanted to spend some time on this video talking about chaos and humanity is really to just highlight the fact that we all have a responsibility to this world. We all have a responsibility to each other. No matter how we may differ, no matter how we may contrast one another, and believe me, there is a lot of contrast in this world, but I believe that contrast is beautiful, right? You know, if we can learn to respect and appreciate one another and, you know, respect and tolerate those different views, then we can all grow as a society. But unfortunately, there's a lot of instances where that's not the case. And not only is it not the case, but it's actually discouraged. It's actually taboo. You're kind of forced to pick a side. You're either with us or you're against us, right? And unfortunately, that mentality is so prevalent across our entire world. And, you know, I don't want to digress into sort of the political ramifications or the political perspectives here, but really it's more just on a humanitarian level. Because I think we can all agree if someone is suffering, and if we truly are connected to our soul, connected to our heart, what any real person who says, you know, what any real spiritual person is trying to do, then we will sympathize with that suffering. We will not only just sympathize, but we will feel some sort of a knot in our stomach and sense that something is not right and that we have to do something, right? If you came across someone and you didn't know anything about them, let's say you didn't even know what they looked like, so you didn't even have the benefit of judging them based on their appearance, but you saw that they were suffering. Maybe they had some sort of a serious condition that prevented them from walking, or that prevented them from, you know, exercising many of the freedoms that you and I have. What's your first response? What does your instinct tell you to do? If you're like many people who have that compassion and that love, your first instinct would be to try to help that person, right? Not to put them in a bucket, not to label them, not to judge them, but to help them. It's kind of human nature, because when one of us is hurt, all of us are hurt. When one of us is suffering, all of us are suffering. And in my mind, there's no sort of scenario where one group of people can be happy at the expense of others, right? To me, that sort of a zero-sum mindset just does not resonate. Why do some people have to suffer in order for others to thrive? Why can't we work collaboratively? Why can't we work with togetherness, with unity towards a common goal? And I know some of this may sound a lot like, I'm you know, playing my kumbaya, and I'm talking about things that don't really happen in real life. It's nice to talk about, but it's really hard to implement in real life. But believe me when I say this, you have the ability to sway others, to influence others, to stand up for what is right, but to also reject and stand against what is wrong. And perhaps your decisions may not, have implications at a grander scale, but even if it is to a smaller scale, I believe we all have this responsibility to help, to recognize the suffering, to be of aid to that person. It only makes us a better human. It's not a form of weakness. It is actually a form of strength. To be, number one, secure in yourself, to know who you are, to know that helping someone is not going to diminish your essence, but then also to actually go out of your way and help that person or that being. Well, then that's sort of the ultimate form of spirituality, in my opinion, to be of service, to do something for this world. And sometimes that form of service or that form of charity or goodwill doesn't happen directly, right? Like, for example, making these videos, for me, I believe constitute a form of service, constitute a form of giving. And although I may not be able to speak with all of you or to kind of gauge your reaction or how it may have helped you, if it has helped you, at least I know that I'm doing my part and I'm putting these videos out there, and that there is this channel that is continuing to grow, that is continuing to be of service. Even long after I'm gone, hopefully, I hope that these videos will be there as a resource, as a tool for anyone that's looking to awaken and discover their true selves and connect with God, and so on. So when I talk about service, when I talk about compassion and humanity, I don't necessarily mean it from the standpoint of physical assistance. Yes, there are many ways we can help others, whether that's through our money, our time, our words, our sympathies, and even our prayers, right? Sometimes when a family member is sick or, has experienced some sort of a difficulty, I always ask, what can I do to help? And more often than not, the response usually is, please give me your prayers. Please pray on my behalf. And to that person, obviously, prayers are very important, and they take that seriously. And I try to, in my own way, pray for that person, pray for their speedy recovery, pray for their health, pray for their happiness, and pray that their wishes come true and that God helps them out of the predicament that they're in. So you see, we're all connected. If one part of the tree, if one branch of the tree is diseased, the whole tree will rot. It's not like, one branch can survive and the others can't. If there is a disease that affects one part of that tree, that disease will spread everywhere. So the solution then is not to cut off the diseased branches and hope that the disease doesn't spread to the rest of the tree. The solution is for all of us to work together and determine how can we address that disease. What is this disease? What is this hatred or this bigotry or this judgment or this intolerance that has caused so much conflict and chaos in the world, in our lives, in our social circles? These are the things that unfortunately hinder our spiritual development, hinder our spiritual growth. And, I want to be very careful here to not, cross the line of what is spiritual and what is political. But unfortunately, sometimes the two intersect, and it's hard to kind of separate that. I would be doing a major disservice if all I talked about was personal spiritual development, but I didn't actually talk about global spiritual development, or I didn't actually talk about the ways in which we can all grow together. Because all of this stuff in my mind is a little bit secondary to some degree when there are people out there that are truly suffering. Not even people, right? Whenever I go to PetSmart, for example, and I'm purchasing food for my cats, I always at the checkout line, when I'm at the register, and they always ask, do you want to donate to these pets? I always, even if it's an insignificant amount, want to give something because I feel for that. I feel very connected to animals, and whenever I see animals that are struggling, that are suffering, that are cramped up in tight spaces, or that are sent to places that they shouldn't be, or treated in ways that they shouldn't be, that really does affect me. And I know that one person cannot change everything and cannot change the world, but at least for me, my conscience is at rest, knowing that, okay, whatever I could do, I did do. And if a certain number of us can have that same mindset, which I know many of us do, then collectively that creates a bigger impact. And that helps so many animals that are under distress, that are in suffering. And the same goes for all beings, right? It's not that you should prioritize one or the other. It's really just your humanity, your beautiful qualities of compassion. Don't let that, don't turn a blind eye to that. Don't sweep it under the rug, because the more you do, the more you're letting a part of your heart kind of crumble and die. And you don't want to reach the state where your entire heart has become hardened, has become black, has become immune to the injustices and the suffering of this world. To me, that's the greatest tragedy, is when you can't even care. You see what's going on, you know what's going on, but you can't even get yourself to do anything or to care about anything. And where does this start from, right? If we're to truly examine, where does this apathy or lack of sympathy come from? I believe, and I've spent some time talking about this on other videos, I believe it really stems down from not having a sense of security in your true self, number one. But number two, being so identified with the ego, being so identified with the false self, with the mind, that feeds us these lies that, we have to get ahead at all costs, and it doesn't matter if others are experiencing hardship. We have to just worry about ourselves. These are all just, machinations of the human mind. They aren't true reality. The reality of it is that we were all put on this earth together to solve one common problem, which is, why are we here and how can we return back home? Everything else is a derivative of that singular problem. Everything else is sort of a distraction and something that puts us far back from our true purpose in this world. And I truly do believe there is a way that we can all work together towards one common goal. It doesn't have to be where if one person gains, the other person loses. I do think there is this, in fact, I think it gets even stronger, right? Imagine, a time that you've gone to a particular service, or you've gone to a particular congregation, and you've seen how everyone in that group, how everyone in that circle is on the same page, is so deeply and devoutly connected. You can feel a special energy in that room. You can feel a presence there that is a little bit hard to notice if you're just, for example, noticing one person. And that's because, 1 + 1 = 3. When we're all working on the same page, when we're all together, when we're all supporting one another, we actually generate more benefit than if we're just trying to do it all on our own. It's this sort of mysterious laws of the universe at play, but believe me, if you've experienced this for yourself, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I'll leave you with that. I hope this video was informative and helpful. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if you have any questions. And also let me know what you thought of the video. If there's something you would like for me to expand on, or maybe cover a different topic in another video, I would love to hear that as well. But thank you as always for taking some time to watch these videos. I know these topics sometimes may not come up in your normal day-to-day conversations, but I hope it really does sort of spark that fire, or spark that light bulb, get you thinking about some of the bigger questions in life, some of the bigger things that truly matter, in my opinion. But with that, I appreciate you for taking the time. I hope you have a wonderful day and week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you on another one of these videos.